Well, it's a while ago since we spoke and we heard about Joseph. But if you remember, Joseph was just a young man at this time. He was just 17 years old. But even there at 17, he was a man who loved God, who wanted to do what God wanted him to do, to be obedient to him. He is a man who God spoke to. And when God spoke to him, he told other people about God as well. This is what God has said. And the problem with doing that is people don't like it. In fact, his brothers hated him for it. In fact, they hated him that much, they wanted to kill him. But fortunately, God was at work. And God brought some slave traders by. And they thought, let's make a bit of money, let's sell him as a slave. And he was sold as a slave, taken all the way down to Egypt. And there in Egypt, he was put up for sale. And on the slave market, people would come along and they would bid to see how much they'd have to pay. Potiphar was the one who offered the most money. He wanted a new slave, a good man who would work hard. And he took him home with him. Potiphar was a captain in the army of Pharaoh, in his own personal guard. And he was high up. And Potiphar, when he got him home, put him to work. And Joseph worked, and he worked really hard. Not only did he work hard, but he also learned lots and lots of different things about how to make Potiphar's house run well. He showed he was really honest, and he could be trusted with doing many different jobs in the house, with the money, with all the food and everything. So much so that when Potiphar was watching, because people do watch what you do, Potiphar thought, he's good, I'm going to promote him. And he was promoted from just being an ordinary slave to being in charge of some of the other slaves. In fact, soon he was in charge of everything that Potiphar had. Well, not quite everything, because Potiphar still made decisions about what he wanted to eat for dinner and for tea. But everything else, Joseph looked after, because he could be trusted. Potiphar saw something else in this man. He saw, when he was looking at him, he saw that Joseph loved God. That's something which is important, isn't it, in our lives as well, that when people see us, they should see God. And Potiphar also saw that Joseph was blessed by God. God was with him, helping him in everything he did, and everything went very well for him. We're told by Jesus, let your light so shine before men that they see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. Potiphar saw that Joseph was a man of God. And he had some respect for the God which he worshipped. But there's other people in that house. One of them is Potiphar's wife. Now, Potiphar's wife was also keeping an eye on Joseph. But she didn't see God in him. Do you know what she saw? He was a good-looking young man. He was fit and strong. And she started to have thoughts that she shouldn't have had. She was married, but she wanted Joseph. And she wanted to commit adultery with him. And she actually went up to Joseph and told him, I wonder how you would behave if somebody came up to you and asked you to do something that was wrong. Do you know what he did? He said, no. But he did something more than just saying no to sin and no into doing what was wrong. He said, look, it's wrong. It's something which God doesn't like, but it's something as well which is wrong because you're married and your husband, and he's given me everything, and I can't take you because you're his wife. Do you know, she didn't give up. Every day she would come along and ask him. And so Joseph started to do something else. He would start to try and keep clear. So he'd ask other people to take the food into her. He'd make sure he was on, other people were around, if she would be around. You see, he wanted to stay clear of temptation. And that's something that we need to do. If we think going somewhere, listening to something, watching something on telly is going to cause us to be tempted to do wrong and have thoughts which we shouldn't have, we've got to say, we were not going to go there. And that's what Joseph did. That was good. Something else that Joseph was to find out, of course, was that you can't always stay clear of temptation. One day he was on the house on his own. He even didn't notice that Potiphar's wife was there, and all of a sudden she comes up and she grabs him. He knows what she wants. She wanted to have her way, not what was right, but to do what she wanted to do, which was wrong. And Joseph knew that it was wrong. How was he going to get out? Well, he turned and he ran. Do you know, sometimes when we're in positions where temptation comes to us, and we are caused to want to sin, we've got to run from temptation. That's what the Bible teaches. Temptation comes, get away. Don't give time to think about it. Don't give time to think, well, it's not too bad. We've got to run from temptation. How do you think she felt? Well, she was angry. In fact, I would say more than angry. She was fuming mad. And she didn't like it. And she was stood there, Joseph's coat in his hand. Because when she had ran, she grabbed him, but only got his coat. And she decided to scream as loud as she could. Everyone in the palace, in the place, heard. And they all came running. They wanted to find out what had happened. It wasn't a mouse or a spider. Do you know what she said? Joseph has attacked me. She blamed Joseph, and it was her that had been the one who wanted to commit sin. It was her who was trying to attack Joseph. She blamed him. Do you know, sometimes when we do what's right, people will try and blame us and tell lies about us because we don't follow their way in doing things which are wrong. Do you know, Potiphar's wife, Potiphar came home. His wife was straight in. She took the coat. And she was blaming Joseph for what had gone on, not just to the servants now, but to Potiphar himself. And you know, when she blamed Joseph, Potiphar could only do one thing: take him off to prison, to punish him, because he believed his wife. Or maybe he thought, well, I have to do it. And so Joseph was taken off to prison. Do you know, sometimes people think if you do right, everything's going to be okay. Not always. He was put in prison. Reminded me of another man who did good things, helped people, spoke about what God wanted to him, and he was crucified. Jesus never sinned, and people came and told lies about him so that he would be punished for something he hadn't done. Joseph sometimes is a great picture of Jesus to us. You know, doing right is what we ought to do. We need to live in a way which pleases God, whatever the consequences, whether it goes well with us, which it did at the beginning with Joseph, or whether it goes bad. Our job is to do what God wants. Hear a little bit more about him later.